everyone, I'm Dr. Pat Cosentino, Superintendent of Region 12 Schools, and I'm here today with a very important show to really highlight our progress thus far on moving towards a referendum to build a new pre-K to 5 school, to repair Chippewa, and to amend the regionalization plan from 1967. I do want to give you just a little bit of information, but before I do that, I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves. Go ahead, Dan.
Dan Casanelli, Principal of Fletcher Thompson.
Hi, I'm Ken Biega with ONG Industries. We are working with Arcadis, your program manager.
Hi, Michael Berger, architect, design architect with Fletcher Thompson.
Great, thank you. Welcome to the show. I think this is going to be really informational for our community members out there. So basically, I just wanted to run through quickly how we got to this point. When I was hired in 2012, I was given the charge to really deal with the strategic plan of the region that had been prepared by a group of educators and community members from all 3 towns over the last year. They started their work in September 2011. Jonathan Costa, an educational consultant from Ed Connection, was retained by the Board of Education with the recommendation of the 3 selectmen of the town to really look at how we can make improvements in the Region 12 school. After months of work, the group that worked on the plan developed 3 goals. The first one was on curriculum, which we're currently working on with the Common Core and the new assessments and teacher evaluation. The second one was technology, which I'm pleased to say we've made great progress in, and hopefully you're noticing with everything that's going on in our schools. And the third one, which is probably the most emotional goal, is the one that deals with the problem of rising costs, the declining enrollment, and the inefficient facilities that we have in our region. And that was primarily the 3 elementary schools. Although they are excellent schools, and they all have wonderful academic achievement, great staffs, great students, great families, they are really ineffective way to use resources. And the board wanted to address this problem. So we went through and we had many meetings, starting when I got here in August 2012. We really had many meetings, many of you were probably there, where we talked about different options. We analyzed busing and transportation and costs and staffing and programming, equity amongst the schools. And after a long, arduous period, the Board of Education, with the recommendation of the selectmen again, decided to put option, I think it was 2B, which is to build a new pre-K to 5 school on the Chippewa campus and put some money into the repairs at Chippewa. So that's what we're doing. We are putting for consideration to the public a referendum, hopefully on April 8th. Now that has to be approved by the board, so that is a tentative date. But in order to work backwards and prepare, we are using the target of April 8th, in which every community member who's a voting member of the town will be asked to vote. There will be 2 questions that are being put forth by bond counsel. We don't have the questions exactly yet because we need the costs of the projects. But the first question basically is going to be to amend the regionalization plan from 1967. And that's going to be where we say we are going to build a new pre-K to 5 school on the Chippewa campus. And we will no longer be using the schools in the 3 towns, the elementary schools. The towns own the schools, the buildings, so they can repurpose those buildings and do other things with them. But that's one of the questions to amend the plan. And then the second question will be, again, bond counsel's working on it, the cost of a new pre-K to 5 and the repairs at Chippewa. So that's where we're moving. We've gotten here with a lot of discussion from community members. For those of you who are just entering this conversation, We are certainly willing to sit with you. You can reach us by email. You can contact Central Office, Region 12 Central Office. You can visit our website. And on the right, there's the District Long-Term Strategic Plan, and we have 29 resources there that have everything from costs and population and everything else you may want to know on how we've gotten to this point. So it is definitely an interesting situation that we have here. It is one that is becoming more urgent as time goes by. We just received from Peter Prouda, who does the demographic report for the region, that our numbers are continually to drop. We currently, I have them right here, I just want to give you the correct numbers. We currently in our schools have 304 students in our elementary schools. We have 28 in pre-K, 64 in Burnham, 85 in Booth Free, and 127 in Washington. In the current year that's coming, 2014-15, we will probably be dropping by 27 students. Every year we keep losing students. We currently have a very small enrollment for kindergarten for September 2014. We have 11 students enrolled in Booth Free, 9 in Washington Primary School, and 4 students in Burnham School. So these are numbers that are really causing us to pause. Peter Prouda's report also goes out 10 years. And these are not exact numbers, but they've been pretty close over the past years. And he's showing that in 2023-24, we will have 28 students in pre-K, this is projected, 26 students in Burnham School, 56 in Booth, and 78 in Washington, which gives us 188 students in the whole pre-K to 5. So it really is a time to make some very hard decisions. With that said, I am going to let Dan and Ken and Michael talk about where we are as far as our plans go and our drawings and how we've gotten to this point, and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you for watching. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Pat. As the superintendent told us, Fletcher Thompson was brought on to study a new pre-K to 5 school on the Chappaqua High School Middle School campus. So what we did is we came in, we took a look at the ed spec that was generated for the program, and generated a space program from all the space requirements that were required out of the ed specification. As we were doing that, we had community outreach sessions. We wanted to understand from people in the community, pro and con, the needs and why people would or would not want a new school, understand things, what people would want to see within a new school facility, have discussions with staff, have discussion with Board of Ed members, really try to encompass the entire community to get everybody involved, get input. And again, as I said, pro and con. And there's people are very passionate about their schools, whether they're for a new school or against a new school, and we want to understand why, and we want to understand how we could make this school the best school that could serve the 3 communities. So with that, we came and we took the educational specification, as I said, created a space program, and batted that back and forth with the administration to understand the square footage needs, to see whether or not we could hone down the number a little bit more, sharpen some spaces up, make sure we're covering everything that we need in a new facility. Once that was done, we started to take a look at conceptual designs as how things may relate to each other, adjacencies between spaces, and do a site analysis and evaluation. We quickly took a look at the entire site and determined that there was only 3 viable locations on the site that a school building would fit. So we had to ask ourselves, and we had to ask the community and the administrators and faculty the type of school that they were looking at, whether it was a school that was part of a campus setting that we wanted to have with the high school, or was it a school that we're looking for identity of its own. We wanted to take a look at whether it was a one-story building or a two-story building and see how that effect on the site worked. We want to ensure that we had children's safety first and foremost, with security, visibility, and accessibility to the building and the site. So with that, Michael started to develop a few schemes. Our contract had required us to provide 3 schemes for discussion. What we did is we actually felt compelled to create the 4th, which was a 2-story scheme, because we had heard that there was some interest in what the impact of a 2-story scheme would do. As that was going on, we were having engineering discussions with the faculty, with the facility director, and the members of the Board of Education to really understand the mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems that are required, things that they're looking for. By the Connecticut state statute, we're required to provide a building that meets the Connecticut High Performance Building Standards, which is the equivalent of a LEED Silver certification. So understanding the mechanical needs, the electrical needs, that all gets taken into account as we're starting to develop conceptual designs. Mike came up with those designs. We met with the staff, we met with the faculty. We're presenting them to the community so that we could get feedback. We generated images to present to the Board of Ed and to the community to generate feedback. We had heard through our discussions that there's certain styles that the community may be looking for. So we put out some initial concepts to garner feedback as well. And all that information we gather, bring it back in, and continue to develop a scheme, both from a plan standpoint and from a what an image of the building might look like. So we're in the process right now of incorporating the feedback.
Attention, 5:30 bus has arrived. The 5:30 bus has arrived.
Well, you can tell we're in a school. Okay, that's what happens when you tape in a school.
Just make sure you turn that speaker off. So we're incorporating that feedback right now, and we're hoping to have more images on a selected scheme that we're looking at. Moving forward, we're going to continue with the community input sessions, develop the selected scheme. We've met already with our estimators. They're in the process of starting to put preliminary estimates together on the project. And then at the February 24th Board of Education meeting, we'll present a draft of the scheme with the initial costs, and then elicit feedback, incorporate the comments into a redesign so that we can present a final presentation to the Board of Ed, and again, go out and present that final scheme to the community. Mm-hmm. So I've spoken a lot. I'm going to turn it over to Mike. We think we're at a point where we've decided on one plan option that seems to work best for everybody, and through our investigation and analysis, we've identified one of the locations on the campus that seems to work best for the school, and Mike can just take us through the highlights of that.
Thanks, Dan. Now, after a careful analysis of the entire site, the campus up on the hill, as well as across the street in the property to the east, we identified 3 possible site locations, and we test fit the sites with 2 square foot building to scale with the required parking, bus, parent drop-off, and athletic fields. And the plan that you're looking at right now is referred to as location 2, which is in the northwest corner of the site. And again, what you're looking at is a preliminary plan, which will continue to evolve before we bring it forward to the Board of Ed later in the month for official approval. What this building's location does, it really separates itself from the existing middle school, high school. We got a lot of positive feedback from this site, from this option here. What it does, it creates a new access road up in the northeast corner of the site, which really separates the vehicles from middle school, high school, and the new school. The new access road wraps around the existing fields, again with minimal disruption to the athletic fields on the north of the site. Separates the bus and parent drop-off nicely in front of the school with enough parking, as well as some overflow parking for events at the school and also at for the athletic fields. This school that you're looking at, the footprint, is referred to as option E, which I'll walk through in a couple moments. It's a one-story building. Sits nicely on the site. It's a tight site, but it's challenging us a little bit more, making us work a little bit harder, but it does work well, and it's appropriately sized for a school of this size. We're indicating secure play areas for the younger students, as well as a pre-K 5 athletic field dedicated for the younger students.
We like that site because many reasons. Number one, that separate road really keeps the high school buses and students away from the elementary school. So although they have different times, there are times when we have delays, or the high school and middle school have maybe a parent-teacher conference or an early dismissal and they're riding, or they go home and then they come back for play practice or a game. So it just really separated those roads, which we felt was really helpful. It also gave a real sense of security to the principals at the elementary school. They really loved that site, where they really had a good view of everything in front of them, not having to be concerned, high school kids walking around their campus, etc. So we really liked it. The other thing that I like, that is just something that to think about in the future, and it certainly doesn't have to happen, but if we ever were to go with a security guard at the bottom of that hill, you could put a gate or a guard there, like many of the regions have. Monroe has that, Weston has that, where you have to, before you can drive up to the campus, you have to sign in and be given a pass. So that's just another piece. Security is so important to us. So I really think that that site, we hit a home run with that site.
Excellent, thank you. And now I'll walk you through the preferred concept E. As Dan mentioned, we looked at 4 other options, options A, B, C, and D, 3 one-story buildings as well as a 2-story building. After meeting with your communities and all the feedback, both positive and pros and cons of all the schemes, we took what we learned from all that feedback and developed concept E, which is really a hybrid of all the schemes, is what you're looking at here. It is a one-story building. And if I should rewind a little bit, that feedback that we received, a couple of the comments that really rose to the top, reoccurring themes, were safety and security, as well as community. First of all, to create a safe and secure facility for the students, faculty, and the community, and community. It's a building that should reflect all 3 of your communities, but also creating a sense of community within the school for the students, bringing 3 schools together, 3 communities together within the building. And then on the community use factor of the building will be used by the community in the evenings and weekends. So taking all that, all the other feedback that we received, this is the concept. Again, it's an early diagram, and it will evolve as the design phase moves forward. What you're looking at here is the red arrow indicates the front door, the main entrance. As you enter the building, you enter into a gallery space. This will be a space where the community can showcase what you're all about, really. A place to showcase what the students are all about as well. And overlooking the front door and the secure vestibule, as well as the bus and parent drop-off, would be the administration block, colored yellow here, with visible supervision of the drop-off and the arrival. Also, to the left of the main entrance, with a circular element, is the library. I think it's a special space within the building for the students, really at the heart of the school, but as well for the community. You will be using this space, so it should be in a prominent location within the school. Again, right at the center of the school. The right-hand half of the building, including the library, is really your public, is what we call your public space. And this will be a space that students will come to throughout the day, but it's also a space that the community you will use in the evenings and the weekends. It houses the gymnasium with bleachers for 300 people, a full basketball court, and a platform that's actually shared between the gymnasium and the cafeteria, so it's double-sided. So a smaller group or a student assembly can use it in the cafeteria, but for larger assemblies with visitors and a larger attendance, can also use it in the gymnasium side. So very efficient use of space here. And so the left-hand side of the plan is really what we call the private side, which is the student side. And this can be locked down in the evening, so any public members entering the building will really not have any access to the private side. The private side, we house the pre-K, K in one academic pod. And we locate this typically closest to the front door for the younger students. So shorter distance from when they get dropped off in the morning and as they leave in the evening, but also it's a shorter distance to travel to the library, to the gymnasium, to the cafeteria, to the nurse, the health center throughout the day. The second pod will be for the older students, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's located down a little bit to the left. Again, another opportunity to give its own identity to that pod for the older students, and they're not really crossing paths with the younger students throughout the day. You see this collaboration areas. We have 3 collaboration areas. These are spaces that we like to incorporate in our schools, and they were requested by the faculty members as well as the principals. They're spaces, overflow spaces, that students and faculty can use throughout the day for small groups or full classroom group space outside of the classroom, a little elbow space. We call them collision space, where students can bump into each other and faculty with faculty, because learning does not just happen within the classroom. The entire facility really is an educational space. The green spaces that you see on the lower left-hand portion of the school are really your specialty spaces, your art, your choral, your band. Again, I think it's separate and it's part of that collaboration space. Also, those are some of the louder spaces in the school, so having those physically separated from the regular classrooms is a wise decision. We are showing some outdoor classroom opportunities. We talked about secure play spaces outside of those collaboration areas on the ends of the pods. And so it's an exciting project, and we're happy to move forward. Next time you see this, it will be massaged and developed a little bit farther. And currently we're designing and exploring massing and exterior design of the school, and we'll be sharing that with you shortly.
One of the things that we take into account as we design these facilities is school security. With the unfortunate incidents that happened at Sandy Hook and previously at other schools, including Columbine, we've been incorporating security measures into schools for over a decade, well over a decade. The state has just issued a draft of guidelines that will be a requirement to incorporate into the school. We had already incorporated a lot of the items that they're looking for into this conceptual design, creating layers of security or layers of defense, such as a secure vestibule and other areas where we can lock down doors, particularly into a classroom wing, and additional means of egress to get students safely out of a building or keep them protected. So the latest and greatest of the requirements of the state and beyond are included in this, as well as hopefully incorporation of LEED and green requirements as well into this new facility to be as energy efficient as possible.
The other thing I just want to mention is we're really trying to be forward thinking, and when you look at the strategic plan, it was from 2012 to 2017, but it really was, how do we take the region to the next 20, 30, 40 years? This building will last 50 years?
Yes.
Right? Okay, so that's the first thing. We don't know where education is going as far as high school goes. Today, Governor Malloy was on talking about how he would like students to graduate from high school with an associate's degree and a high school degree in 4 years, taking classes at the college level. Now, we've talked about that here in the region. We're moving. You know, it's a slow transition. We have to take baby steps sometimes. But, you know, in 10 years, in 5 years, high school kids may not be in the building all day. They may be here half day and then the other half at a college campus, or they may be online. You know, you can literally have, you know, 2 sessions where half the kids go to college first and then come to the high school, and then vice versa. So if you look out to 2023, 24, we're going to have 188 students in elementary, this is projected, 112 students in the middle school, and 161 students in the high school. That's a total of 461 students pre-K to 12 in the region. And you can't sustain what we're doing with those numbers. I mean, the costs are going to be astronomical to taxpayers. And so we're trying to be proactive. So one of the things we like about that building, and hope we can put it back up, letter E, is that we can add to that building in 10 years, in 15 years, if that's what the Board of Education and the communities want to do. You certainly can add another, pod down the end and have a middle school wing or a high school wing. You can add on in the back. You can put a second floor on some of that if that's what you wanted. But it allows for a lot of options. And not that I am advocating for closing Chapag, I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is offering options to the region as they move forward in a time where enrollment is really declining in this area. The other thing I want to mention is that we're not alone. This is happening all over the northeast part of Connecticut and the northwestern part of Connecticut. Other districts are doing the same thing, trying to look at how do we either regionalize, consolidate. The state is pushing us in that direction because the population is going down. So it's something we have to deal with. This building that we are, that we are promoting has a full gymnasium, just so you know. So that is a gymnasium that can be used for a high school varsity game, volleyball, basketball, whatever you want to do, and can seat those participants and the crowds in the audience. So that's one of the things we did put into this scheme, just in case. So it is something that we're trying to think, not just in the next 10 years. We have to really be forward thinking. The other thing I just want to mention, and these are from the numbers from 2012, 2013. The cost per student in the state is approximately $12,500 per student to educate a student around the state. In our region, we are much higher. The high school is $23,146 to educate a student. Middle school is $23,885. Washington PS is $27,331. Booth Free is $26,838, and Burnham School is $32,386. Now that was last year. So we're over double than the state average in every school, and some of them are approaching triple. And as our population go down, that's going to go up and up. So, we're trying to give the facts as best we can and let people make the decisions they would like to make. I'd like now Ken to speak of the other part of this project, which is the repair to Chapag Middle High School.
All right, thanks, Pat. And Pat, before I talk about that, you mentioned, other districts going through this. It's not just the northwest corner, the southeast part of Connecticut. It's throughout Connecticut.
It is.
We're seeing, numbers just going down, and a lot of tough decisions are made, by, these neighborhood schools giving, but a lot of towns are going through this, and it's, something that's throughout the state that we're dealing with. So I don't want anyone to feel, it's throughout.
Thank you.
Now, on the high school and the middle school project, for many years you guys have talked about renovation, doing stuff and doing repairs on it. You've had many studies done, so when you go to your referendum, you're going to see this on there, references what work needs to get done. A lot of this is stuff that's been deferred, but other than that, it is stuff that is needed to do, whether it's code updates, whether it's program changes, whether it's security, as Dan talked about, looking at those issues. Now, those, what we haven't talked about before, are eligible for reimbursement. So we're going to analyze that closely to see what money you can get back from the state. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, too, is the possibility of bidding some of this out at the same time you're bidding out the elementary school, if it can wait. So then you have the better options of having a contractor on site, getting a better price for them to come over and do the work. So there is some pluses to doing that. But the other issue is, besides those items that are eligible for reimbursement, the building envelope, looking at replacing the windows, upgrading those, repairing some caulking issues, cracking in the masonry, just doing those repairs to make sure you can get, as Pat says, additional years out of this building, so it can last and get you to those next steps. Interior-wise, a lot of updates in there. Looking to ceiling replacement, some lighting upgrades, stuff like that, locker room repairs, those general items. And then, of course, there's some structural repairs that we need to make. Another major issue is the MEP, HVAC. If you know, a lot has changed with the codes regarding HVAC items. So we're going to look at that and see what we can do to correct some of those issues. Emergency lighting, paving, outside in the site. I'm sure you've all driven in here and you see, okay, we could definitely look to repave that site. Repave that, make some handicap accessible curbs and sidewalks and everything, and take care of those issues. And then finally, we're going to look closely at that whole grand entrance you have. If you notice, there are a lot of times at night you use that space for kids to develop things, work on projects together. That is a great opportunity to kind of develop that and make that more of a usable space for you in the overall project. So as soon as we get this all together with the final plan for the elementary school, we'll have a breakdown and more descriptions on all these and the possible money you can get back from the state for reimbursement. That's it, Pat.
Thank you. And I want to reiterate, this option, building a new pre-K to 5 and doing repairs at the middle high school, was a compromise, okay? We had many, many options, and people had a compromise. There were people on the board and in the community who really wanted a new pre-K to 12 building. We also heard that people didn't want to spend that money at this point for a pre-K to 12 building. Because when you build a pool and when you build an auditorium, you really don't get state reimbursement for those. So you're paying 100% for that.
That's correct.
So that the cost rose very quickly. The other thing that we heard from the community was that we're going to build a new high school. We may not have enough kids in 10 years. So that kind of put that one on the side. Then we had another option that people were really into, was making the Roxbury School K to 2, and then making Burnham School 3, 4, and 5. But all that does is moves kids around. It's more expensive for busing, and in 3 years you would have one class in each school. So you would have a school with one kindergarten, one first and one second grade, and then you'd have another school with a third, a fourth, and a fifth. You'd have parents in 2 different schools, in 2 different neighborhoods. So that really wasn't a viable solution. This was the solution that the selectmen brought to the Board of Education, feeling that let's put this one out there. We think it's the best one at this point. So that's what we're doing. And I really appreciate everyone's passion for their schools. And you know, it's wonderful. I mean, you know, it's great that everyone loves their schools. The PTOs are passionate, the families, the community, the history of the schools. But we also have to look into the future, and we have to be able to sustain our region. And, you know, people who are looking to move into these communities want to see a really good elementary school. And we have the opportunity to build a state-of-the-art school, totally secure, with a lot of kids. And we're not talking a lot of kids, but when you have classes of maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, people don't look, you know, very favorably on that, because they want their children to have a more rounded opportunity to socialize with different kids and learn with different kids. So that's problematic for us. The other thing that's problematic is that we don't have equity in the district. We have you know, a 3rd grade class with 22 students and a 3rd grade class with 11 students in the same region. So that's a problem for parents. And you have classes that are lopsided. You may have 6 girls and 2 boys. So it's that kind of, those issues that we were dealing with and grappling with. So my message is, I have a couple of messages. First, I want to thank you all, doing a wonderful job. You know, we are all accessible, so if you want to reach anyone, please call central office, visit our website, and you can get information. All of our resources are online at our website, www.region-12.org, and you can get all of this information. It's all there. These are my messages. Number 1, listen to the facts. There are a lot of misinformation out there. People are very emotional. Come and listen to the facts so that at least if you are going to vote, you can make an informed decision. And the other thing is, let us vote. Let everybody vote. Let everyone have an opportunity to go into that voting booth and vote. So this way, the Board of Education has some reliable information that they can use to move forward. If the vote passes, we move forward and we build a new pre-K to 5, which would open in 2017. So it's not opening right away. And the work on the high school, middle school would start right away. If the vote doesn't pass, well, then the Board of Education has other decisions to make. Okay, is there another option? Do people need more information? Are we going to, whatever they're going to do, that's their decision. But until they hear from all the voters, it's very hard for them to make an informed decision. So that's where we're at. We have many, many meetings coming up. We will send home more flyers to all the community members, but if you want more information, we have your best bet at this point would be come to the February 24th Board of Education meeting at 7 o'clock at Chapag. Then there's a meeting on the 26th and the 27th if we need it. And then on March 1st, which is a Saturday, at 10 o'clock at Chapag, and March 3rd, which is a Monday night, at 7 o'clock at Chapag, we will have all the final information. We will have the questions, we will have the costs, we will have the cost to taxpayers, we will have everything you need to know so that you can continue to be informed and make the decision that's right for you and the region. The other thing I just want to say, because I like to throw it out there, I sit here and people say I'm pro, I'm con. I'm always for the children. I'm trying to do what's best for the children of the region. I was hired with this task. It has been difficult at some times because the truth can be difficult. And we are facing some real problems that we have to deal with before our region, is not viable. So if anything else you take from here, know that I'm for the children, and we want what's best for them, and we want what's best for the region. So I thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Again, if you want the information, www.region-12.org, and certainly you could also call the Region 12 office, and that number is 860-868-6100. I'm Pat Cosentino. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope that we get that vote on April 8th and you get out there and vote. Thank you.